Hi there, Crossworders, and from my side, welcome to Crossword Online. This is my first video that I'm going to be posting, and it's on one level I'm really sad that we have to do this, but on another level I'm actually really encouraged that we can do this and that nothing is holding us back from being able to actually share the gospel despite our restrictions and limitations due to the spreading of COVID-19. And so I really hope that over the next couple of weeks we can utilize all the resources available to us to try and better connect and stay connected. Not simply from our side, but from your side as well. Whether it's through WhatsApp, whether it's through just giving a phone call to someone, but being able to stay connected in a time like this, I think is truly helpful and truly amazing. And I think we need to do our best to keep the conversations going through this time. As for this video, it's different to the video that was released on Sunday that Ludwig did. What this one is, it's a midweek video that we are doing, and it functions more as a Bible study. So we're going to be taking a look at a book in the Old Testament, and if you haven't gathered what book it is yet by the form that I sent out earlier, what we are going to be looking at is the book of Job. Now, the book of Job, for a lot of you, might have a preconceived idea that it's not a nice book. It's intense, it's heavy, and maybe you feel a bit scared to actually look at it. And I want to start by encouraging you not to be afraid. Don't be afraid to dig into Job. The problem is, on one level, is as you dig into Job, you find that Job actually is digging into you. But I want to encourage you to let it work in you. Let it challenge you. And hopefully as you go, you can really grow out of what Job does as you contemplate it, as you wrestle with it, as you engage not only with the book, but maybe with us, sharing with one another what we are being challenged by, and also what we're being encouraged by. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to look at Job and just take a look and see how the book of Job can actually be filled with good news. And so what we've titled this Bible study is The Good News According to Job. And we feel it's quite fitting in light of the current circumstance of things and the world around us and what's taking place with COVID-19. That as we dig into the book of Job, it really gets us to wrestle with how do we deal with things like suffering and hardship and grief. And I hope that it will be enriching and encouraging to you. But take it one step at a time along with us as we go. And if you feel that you're not getting it, or if you feel challenged or struggling with something or confused, just send us a message and let's chat about it and let's work through it. But as for this video, what we're going to be doing is purely an introduction to Job. We are going to take a look at what is happening in Job as a whole, how it's structured, and the use of genre, and how that makes Job not just an incredibly complicated and interesting book, but also an incredibly beautiful book. And so I really hope that as we go into this, that you may begin to get excited for what it all has in store for us. So yeah, let's turn to Job and let's take a look at a couple of the key things to keep in mind as we work through this book. Right, so as we take a look at just a brief introduction, we're going to take a look at a couple of aspects that we need to highlight in Job. And they may seem quite simple or straightforward, but it's just going to help us to be able to navigate our way through Job. The first thing that we're going to take a look at is just briefly the various characters or voices that you hear in the book of Job. And those voices are Job himself, Eliphaz, Bildad, Zophar, Elihu, and the Lord. And they're significant because they help us to see the structure of Job. So the whole of Job is essentially structured around the discourses that each one presents in that sense. And so the second thing that we're going to just briefly look at, and I encourage you to take some time to familiarize yourself with it. At the end of the video, I'll make sure that we make it available, is the structure of Job and how the characters shape that structure. So in chapter 1 and 2 you have the introduction, and chapter 42 you have the epilogue. But wrapped up in that you have all the discourses between Job, Eliphaz, Bildad, Zophar, Elihu, and the Lord. And in particular there's groupings. So you have Job, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar groupings. And then you have Job's discourse that he kind of speaks on his own, and then you have Elihu that speaks, and then you have the Lord that speaks, and then finally you have Job that responds once again at the end. And so that's kind of the structure in the sense that it's structured around how and who is speaking in that sense. The third thing that we just need to briefly consider is the fact that Job is wisdom literature. And so what that means is that Job is incredibly instructive. There's something in it that helps to teach us and equip us and get us to grow in our understanding of, well, in Job's case particularly, how to deal with hardships and suffering. But not only how to deal with it, but in one sense, what is the correct response? And that's the question that it presents us. What is the correct response to have in light of suffering or hardship? And so we see that the interplay unfolding between Job and his friends, particularly. And this is significant, and as we will get into those verses and those chapters, we will hopefully be able to unpack that a little bit further to see how wisdom literature actually challenges you and gets you to reflect on yourself and to really think how you would in one sense handle it, and expose almost those wrong or errors in our thinking. And so Job is incredibly well structured and argued, that we find ourselves caught out when we're agreeing where we shouldn't be agreeing, and also challenged to change the way in which we think and wrestle with hardship and suffering. The final thing that we just briefly want to look at, or just mention at least, is the fact that Job is poetic. And the reason why this is important is that poetry is used to, in particular, to highlight so many deeper running ideas. And so as we unpack Job in the next couple of weeks, hopefully we will be able to highlight some of the poetic devices used to emphasize certain points. And it will truly help the text to come alive for us if we take the time to just pay attention to some of that, and noticing how poetry is used alongside wisdom literature to better convey the point of what is being said. So in all, that's just a brief outline as to what we can expect as some of the aspects that we can find in Job, from the characters to the structure, the fact that it's wisdom literature, and the fact that everything is actually written poetically, which makes Job absolutely beautiful. So as a way of introduction, that is the book of Job. And so I hope that was helpful, that it got you to think a little bit, and to in one sense see the beauty in Job, that it is as complex as it is. It's got an amazing structure, and it's an incredibly beautiful piece of God's Word that we get to explore. So as for what's to come, we're going to be looking next at Job 1 and 2. So if you want to go and read that, I encourage you to spend some time reading through it a couple of times and give some thought to what you're reading. I would encourage you to just read that section. Don't read further ahead, but just read Job 1 and 2 for now. And if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, I'm going to try and make a Google form available at the end of this video, so that you can just click on that and fill in any questions or thoughts or any other comments that you might have that you would like to share with us. So please feel free to make use of that, and it will help us to better improve how we will deal with the next video and hopefully answer those questions or engage with some of the thoughts or comments that you've had. So again, I hope that this was helpful. I hope that it's got you excited for what lies ahead, and I hope that you are encouraged and excited along with us to explore the good news according to Job. See you all next time. Cheers.